I'm Terry Meiston, President of Dynamic Workforce Solutions. I'm your host for the episode of Dynamic Words, a brand new series brought to you by Dynamic Works Institute. We've all been inspired by countless dynamic individuals we've encountered. Dynamic Words is our way of bringing these incredible voices to the forefront. This podcast is more than just a series, it's a platform for thought leaders, change makers, and innovators to share a little bit about themselves, their career path, and their leadership style. And today I am thrilled you've decided to join us because we have an amazing guest. Shannon Bryant is the Executive Director for Workforce and Economic Development for the Minnesota State and College System. And her word and her journey is a testament to the power of intuitive. That's her word today, being intuitive. I can't wait to hear her share her insights and experiences with us. So get ready to be inspired, challenged, and motivated as we uncover the power of words in leadership and life. Let's dive in. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Terry. Great to be here. Thank you for having
It's
me.
it's so great to see your sunshiny face and get a chance to talk to you a little bit today. I've known you in 3 different states. I was thinking about that today.
Yes, we have. It's been a while. So,
It's been a while. So thanks for setting up the time to talk with us, and I really appreciate it. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and kind of your career path, how you got to where you are.
certainly. So I am currently serving as the executive director, as you mentioned, for workforce and economic development for the Minnesota State College and University System, which encompasses 26 community colleges and 7 state universities here in the state of Minnesota. We are the fourth largest higher education system in the nation. And I've been here just a little over a year in this role. I had the opportunity to interview and become part of a national search last year, and it was a great opportunity, and I couldn't say no. So loving Minnesota right now and living here and exploring this beautiful state. Prior to coming to Minnesota, I was the executive vice president for workforce and economic development for the Tarrant County College District in the Fort Worth, Texas area. I was there for just a little over 4 years, and absolutely loved that job as well. But wanted to go to other opportunities, which obviously led me here to Minnesota. And then from where you and I know each other, Terry, both being Ohio girls, um,
Yep.
I am from Ohio, and prior to Texas, I was in my home state of Ohio, and I was working there as the vice president of workforce and economic development for Sinclair College in Dayton, Ohio. And I was serving in that role for about 5.5 years. And all three of these roles in higher education are a bit unique because I've taken a little bit of a different journey from I guess the typical academic path that most would think working in higher education. It's really not been my role. So, the beginning of my career, I spent almost 17 years in corporate America. Before entering higher ed, I worked in the financial services industry, but I worked in the learning and development role in financial services and really loved that, which was kind of a natural progression over to entering into higher ed. And so, my role in both Ohio, Texas, and here in Minnesota, it's really working with business and industry. It's working with state agencies, it's working with local economic development, and it's all about engaging with employers and finding out what their workforce needs are today and how we can strategically align those needs with the colleges and universities that we have here in the great state of Minnesota or the states previous. And really building customized contract training programs with those businesses, building micro pathways, credentials, industry certification. It's all about meeting the employer where they are. And so when people ask me what I do for a living, I typically say I build bridges between institutions of higher education and business and industry. And that's kind of my sweet spot and what I love to do. And so,
It's a great time to be in that role. I mean, it seems like the country is waking up to the critical need of what you're doing. And I've always been just really impressed by how knowledgeable you are, but how passionate you are about working with these businesses. Like you get it. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And so I'm just really, I can't believe that you were in Texas for 4 years. That kind of took me by surprise. That was a fast 4 years.
It
So
was a very fast 4 years. Yeah,
your career has been pretty inspiring, and certain it's been pretty intuitive. I love that you picked that word. I'm really curious to know, why did you pick it, and can you define it for me a little bit?
sure. So when you first sent the script over to me to take a look at, I don't know, that was the first word that came to mind. For me, intuitive is really having the innate ability to know. So for me, it's been kind of my guiding principle is having a deep trust in myself and that, that gut instinct. And that's really where I live. If it doesn't feel right, I won't do it. If it feels like it might be a good opportunity, then I'm going to go for it. And I think that um, just comes from inside. And it's been that gut instinct that has really led me down the path of my career. Um, it just made sense when I left corporate America to go into higher education. It was I didn't have all the skill sets, but what I had done in my corporate career, it just seemed like a natural progression. It's like, well, why not? Let's take the risk. So I went from working with a college to then going to Texas, where I worked with a district of colleges. And then when the opportunity for Minnesota, it's a whole state system. And so I've gone from college to district to state system, and it's just been this natural progression that just was probably
Intuitive.
it was intuitive. It was intuitive for me that that was the right path for me, and
So
so
yeah.
that's the way I've kind of taken my career path journey.
So I love this because I was a prior educator, and one of the things I used to tell the high school students I worked with is your only job is to become comfortable in your skin, and liking yourself, trusting yourself, feeling good about your intuition and where it's telling you to go, and clearing out enough the noise so that you can actually get to that component. I think is a very difficult thing to teach people. As you look back on your career path, can you give me some examples besides, moving in employment, that perhaps you relied on your intuitive self to make a decision or do something against the grain? I would love to hear about how you sort of trusted yourself. I love that deep trust in yourself enough that shook things up, if you will.
Yeah, I think alongside of the journey, obviously, is my education journey for me personally, right, and my professional development as I've grown over the years. As a professional woman and a leader in executive leadership roles, I remember going back. I was telling someone the story over the weekend. Is that I started out at my local community college, and for me, I started out not having a clue. When I was in high school, I had zero self esteem, zero.
Wow.
And so coming out, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no clue. I was from a little small town in Ohio. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to start at a community college. All my friends were going off to big 4-year universities, and that just wasn't me. And so either I could do that and fail, or I could do what felt right for me. And so my first inclination was, let's start at the community college. So I started off, I earned a certificate, and then I went on and I continued down that path of earning an associate's degree. And then I decided, all right, time to work full time. And through my journey of my career in Ohio, I worked for a company for almost 17 years, in which I followed my path of I liked education, but I also liked the business world. So I kind of straddled both of those industries.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my career path, I wanted to get my bachelor's degree. So I went on to get my bachelor's degree and my master's degree, and a master's certificate, and an industry credential. And all of those were 100% completely paid for because I was aligning them to the work that I was doing. And it was allowing me to kind of build upon what I was already doing in my everyday life. And it paid off very well for me. Um, Little did I know at the beginning of my career, at 50 some years old now, looking back, that I would be sitting in the role that I'm in now. But it was, again, intuition, intuitive thought. Um, I don't know how to explain it outside of the fact that even in a couple of my degree programs, I actually customized them. So they weren't
Yeah.
go out of the catalog degree programs that the college or the university offered, because I needed to build my own pathway. I needed to write my own story.
I love that so much. And here's what's kind of interesting to me that maybe you've never thought about. A lot of people follow intuition that is, in 20 years, I want to XYZ. And yours were, and I talk to my daughter about this all the time. Can you set a 90-day goal? Can you follow your gut for 90 days? Because you've just demonstrated how the building blocks just beautifully came together. Who would ever thought you saying, I'm gonna go get a credential? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. That's incredible. I love that. And I think that um learning how to trust your own gut, it's a recipe for good health too, I think, because you're not fighting yourself along the way. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I was talking to a young man this weekend who's just at the beginning of his career, and we were talking about career paths. And I said, look, I said, number one, don't be hard on yourself. In the decision making process, just go with what feels right. And
Yeah.
one, just pick out what you want to do now. It doesn't matter where you get started, just get started somewhere and then follow the path of where it takes. Learn, what is it you really want to do? What's your passion? Start out in that of what's a path that you can take that would lead to a good, solid career path, and then you build upon that. And that's really the advice I give to young people. You don't have to have it all figured out. Back
Yeah.
in the day, I felt like I had to have it all figured out, and the stress was a little overwhelming. And eventually, I found out you don't. You take one step at a time, and you build upon what you feel is right. And again, that gut instinct is what's led me to where I am today.
And you kind of answered this, but my last question for you was about being a leader that you are. If there was a young leader looking at you thinking, how did she utilize intuition in her job? And why is it important to have in your toolkit? What would you tell them?
The most important part of any business that you will ever be in is the people. And that's the number one asset. It's not the financials. It's not anything. It's because if you don't have people, you don't have anything. And so for me, I've taken, I guess, this ability to engage with my employees and the people that I work with. And really, I don't know, I guess I've always had this kind of intuition of like how people are feeling, or maybe they feel a little lost, or maybe this isn't for them. And engaging in conversation and just having open dialogue and open conversation now, and not 5 weeks from now, not 5 months from now, because I never like to let things fester. And if somebody's unhappy, let's address the issue now so we can get you on the path. Because when you're happy, you're probably a lot more prosperous in your role. And
Mm.
so that's where it's led me in my career as far as a leadership. Definitely one of the number one tools in my toolkit.
I love it. And I want to thank everyone for tuning into this episode of Dynamic Words. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Shannon, about a word that inspires you and really inspired me today. And it's the ability to be intuitive and really deeply trust yourself. As we wrap up this conversation, we hope you feel inspired and empowered by the power of today's dynamic word. And if you enjoyed our episode today, please share it with your friends and colleagues who might be interested in getting inspired as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the series for more compelling discussions with outstanding leaders. And until next time, keep embracing those power of words. This is Terry Lyston with Dynamic Works Institute, signing off from Dynamic Words. Stay dynamic and stay inspired, everybody.